Hi, and welcome to Filmmakers Compass Podcast, a show where we talk about movies and, well, more movies. I'm D-Man, joined by CP. And CP, how are you doing today?
Dude, I am so glad that we are back podcasting.
It took a while, but the return is happening, and consistency is the key. So we will be recording an episode every week going forward.
Don't commit to that. Don't commit to that. We just went like 6 months without doing an episode. Do we really want to now reassure everyone that we're going to be back here next week, same time, same place? I'm not willing to gamble with that.
We have to reassure everyone we'll be back. Yes. It took a second, a little bit longer than I think we originally intended, but the show is back. The podcast has returned. And I'm very excited because, for one, there were a lot of things that happened between the last time we recorded a podcast episode and now. So there's a lot of probably some retro segments that we're going to do, like, Throwback Thursday to January 2025 and go take a look at what happened back then. And there's also a lot that is happening now. So we are currently in July, and there are a lot of movies and all kinds of movie news coming out. So it's a big time for the movies. I know one of the things I'm most excited about, CP, it's probably not what everybody's thinking I'm going to say, but it's the Jaws 50th anniversary.
Nothing about that surprises me, Dustin.
I love Jaws. They actually have on Hulu and Disney Plus a new documentary that just debuted, going back through the impact that Jaws has had over the last 50 years, as well as sort of a recount of the production of the original film. So they're not addressing the sequels. Thank God. But I'm super pumped. I've never seen Jaws on the big screen. And if I'm fortunate enough to get to go in August, I will be there. So I can't wait. As everybody's probably thinking, there's a couple of superhero movies that are dropping and a couple other movies that have come out over the course of the summer that we do want to talk about. We won't get them all in on this episode, but there is one major movie, which, if you are watching this podcast, you've probably already figured out based on CP's shirt and his coffee mug. We will be talking about Superman.
We have returned. Superman has returned, but we're not talking about Superman Returns because that movie sucked.
Dun, 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 dun. We're here.
That's John Williams, everybody, played by D-Man's mouth.
Yeah. I can't do justice to John Williams, but that's what I think of when I hear Superman is John Williams' theme. So, guy's amazing. Shout out for Jaws too. Not Jaws 2, Jaws 1, but the score for that.
Thank you for clarifying.
Yes. So, as is always the case, CP, really quick before we get started, I did want to do a couple shout outs. Now, 6 months of missing shout outs won't get crammed into this section, but I did want to acknowledge that we got to celebrate Ivor's birthday with him this year, which was a ton of fun. Ivor, thank you so much for inviting us. We had a great time. We've missed you here on the show. I mean, it seems crazy, but like when you think about the open dialogue that we have on this podcast and Ivor, we're basically talking to you back and forth every week. It's like an open chat here, an open forum on the podcast. And I miss that because, well, I haven't seen you since your birthday and we haven't talked as much. And
that's very sweet.
Yes. So I'm glad the show's back. More than that, Ivor, hopefully we can actually, link up, maybe go catch a movie and definitely party for Halloween this year. That would be fun. So, and maybe we'll invite CP, what's your costume going to be this year, CP? Come on. Oh God, a backwards hat, get some Snapchat spectacles and a Star Wars shirt and you're in, and some khaki shorts.
That's how the guy goes. I hung out with him up to know that's how he dresses 90% of the time.
Pretty basic. I mean, mostly Star Wars stuff. And that's it. Speaking of that, when I went to the movie theater to go see Superman, I was a little bummed. I don't have any Superman gear. The only other franchise that I have besides Star Wars is Batman, which, to be fair, Batman is my favorite comic book superhero. That makes sense. But I was like, I think I need to diversify because while I'm not able to go this year to Comic-Con, I have been in the past, and they have those t-shirt towers. And you can basically get shirts or merch with, any superhero logo. They have everything at Comic-Con. So I might need to diversify, CP. I feel like
you could have just texted me. I have like 47 Superman shirts.
I know you have Superman, you have Jurassic Park, you've dressed up like Indiana Jones. Across the board, you have all the stuff. I don't have that much. I'm wearing a plain black tee. It's pretty depressing, I think.
I know.
To continue with the shout outs, CP, I got to say, you posted your review for Superman to social media, just like you do after you go see every movie. The reaction to that has ranged from appreciation that people felt you were being honest and straightforward to outright disgust. People did not care
mostly Drucker.
they did not care that your opinion does not match their own. So there was some pushback to that. And a couple of the comments, Jones _ Adam said, Superman without Henry is not worth my watch. Glad to hear I made the right decision. Good. Interesting. Ivor jumped in. Someone sounds like they need a hug. Thank you for your honesty. You went in open-minded. He knows how much you hate James Gunn in general, and we're going to get to that, but it also how much you love Superman. So I don't know how this happened to you, CP, but I think your favorite comic book superhero is Superman, and your least favorite modern, epic comic book movie director is James Gunn, and they collided. So I can't wait to get your honest take in depth outside of this video. And then Drucker, who was just angry. So shout out to Drucker. Thank you for expressing all your anger. We're going to keep positive because we're trying to not bring this show down. But Drucker, we love you. So, all right, CP, I'm going to throw it over to you.
Well, since we haven't been on the show in 6 months, there's a lot of movie news we haven't discussed, but we're going to right now talk about our box office breakdown. I don't really want to talk about this week's box office because we're halfway through 2025 and we haven't really talked about the box office in general. So let's talk at a grand level about what has happened with the box office year to date so far. So the top 5 domestic movies of 2025. D-Man, I want you to throw out a couple and let's see if you're even close to naming these off of only the domestic box office. What were the tops?
Well, it's forgettable because I didn't see it. There was not a strong lineup, in my opinion, of blockbuster films in the spring, but there is one that stands out. I get reminded about it, I think, every time I log into like HBO Max or, whatever it's called now. And that is the Minecraft movie.
Well done. So the Minecraft movie is the #1 movie domestically, and it made close to $500 million just in the United States, which is wild because I saw it and it was so forgettable.
So here's what's interesting about this. And I'm just going to throw movies out there. You tell me if I'm right or wrong. But Minecraft, based on a very popular video game IP.
Yes.
If I had to guess, somewhere in there, we are going to see Lilo and Stitch.
#2.
All right. And we're going to see, I'm guessing again, How to Train Your Dragon.
#5.
Okay. So I bring that up because over the course of the spring and leading into the summer box office, Pixar dropped an original animated motion picture, Elio, about a kid who wanted to go to space, I guess. I haven't seen it. I can't comment on whether the movie's good or bad, but it was Pixar's worst opening weekend box office performance, I think, the company's history, which is saying a lot because, that's how good they've been. Honestly, they've never had any misses. What's interesting about this is I feel like everybody is always saying all Hollywood wants to do is do remakes, reboots, sequels, prequels, but all they want to do is mine intellectual property. They never want to create anything new. So here comes Pixar with this new movie. And what animated movies do people go see? Lilo and Stitch and How to Train Your Dragon. Remakes.
Wild.
It's nuts.
Wild.
And I call them animated. They're live action, but it's like a hybrid at this point.
Just to throw a counterpoint to your point, the #3 movie in the domestic box office for 2025 is a original film known as Sinners, which still blows my mind that is #3 at this point in the summer.
The word of mouth on that movie was nuts.
Very true.
I know that's why it's probably in the 3 spot, which I got to give a round of applause because I love to see original content break into the top levels. I don't usually count adaptations, meaning like if you're going to, Oppenheimer's based on a book, American Prometheus. that to me, it's still sort of, it's original. Yes, it's based on a book, but it's not like a remake, a reboot, or a sequel or something. And in this case, Sinners is like a wholly original film. So that makes me really happy that people went and saw it and that the word of mouth was really strong. That's awesome.
The last movie is, back to your point, Jurassic Park Rebirth, which is, of course, another reboot.
That was going to be the last movie I was going to say. I thought that might be in the 5 spot just because it's probably the newest.
So that's in the 4 spot. Now, what's interesting is, so let's swap to the global box office. Do you have any idea top 5 movies globally based on their performance?
I mean, so Minecraft, I don't know if Minecraft has the reach globally that it does here, because I don't know if a lot of people have game consoles worldwide the way they do here.
Well, you are wrong, my friend. Minecraft is the number 3 movie, and it made $950 million.
Wow. All right.
I'm assuming a lot of that is coming from places where people play a lot of video games.
I mean, if I'm following trends here, and this goes back to when we were still making the podcast over 6 months ago, a high performing global film that did really well and only did decent here in the States was Godzilla x Kong, which makes me think that Jurassic World performed well internationally.
So as of this point, Jurassic World Rebirth is number 6 globally in the box office. So it's almost there. It's only been out for a couple weeks at the time of this episode.
What else do we got that would be that high? I mean, are any of those remakes on there?
Yeah. I mean, How to Train Your Dragon is number 5 and Lilo and Stitch is number 2. Now, the 2 interesting ones are number 1 in the global box office and number 4 in the global box office.
Now, I don't know what it is, but I am curious. I've named only American films. Is there anything on this list that is non-American?
You're a smart man. So what's very interesting is the number 1 movie in the world, according to the global box office, which has made almost $2 billion. And I guarantee you almost everyone in our audience has not seen it. Ni Za 2.
Did not see that. I couldn't even name
that's a Chinese film, and it made 1% of its box office domestic.
Meaning here, because domestically for them.
States, So curious to see this. I've heard that it's based off of like traditional Chinese lore and spirituality storytelling. So
could be good.
It's a Chinese-centric myth, which I'm just curious. Any movie that makes $2 billion, I'm curious to see.
So I mean, let's
something right.
I don't know if you have a breakdown by country. I mean, you may only give you domestic, but I'm assuming if it made 1% here, it made a bulk of its gross in China.
Yeah, most of the countries that it's performed in are
like Asian Pacific countries.
It made $1.85 billion in China.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. Okay.
Hong Kong, stuff like that. So very, very central to China.
Dang, dude. Pixar's jealous.
So the last movie in the top 5, which kind of shocks me because it's sort of underperformed domestically, and that's Mission Impossible: The Final Reckoning.
Oh, interesting.
Barely made $200 million domestically, but it made an additional almost $600 million.
Wow, that's nuts.
Apparently, everybody loves Tom Cruise. I guess that's the moral of the story.
I mean, again, I sort of did that comparison with like Godzilla x Kong, or Kong x Godzilla, or whatever it was called, to Jurassic World. You could almost, kind of compare that to like the Fast films and their globe-trotting ways. If you really think about it, I mean, the Mission Impossible movies, as of maybe the last 4, they're real globe-trotting films. Tom Cruise is like an American movie star. He's, from Hollywood. He has that vibe, but also the movies themselves, they're incredibly diverse. They go all over the world. They're usually global conspiracies. So I could see where that would play well for international audiences.
Very true. That's the box office so far. We'll have to see as things move forward. We have Fantastic Four coming out. Superman just came out recently, so there's going to be a lot of shakeups. So I'm curious to see where things go from here. I think we just got to get into it. We know what we're going to talk about. Our audience knows what we're going to talk about. So a little movie called Superman just came out from my favorite director, James Gunn.
Yes. Favorite director.
Oh, boy. So before we get into it, I want to try this little segment that I thought up the other day called Good, Bad, and Ugly. So I want you to just give me 3 things that you thought were great, 3 things that you thought were bad, and 3 things that you thought were terrible about this movie when you watched it. And then we can kind of dissect it with you.
Okay, I got you on that. I'll go ahead and start if you want. Mm-hmm. The 3 things that I thought were really good that I enjoyed. I really enjoyed Crypto, the dog. I'm a dog person. anytime dog's on screen, it just brings a smile to my face. But even though Crypto can sort of, be a little bitch, he showed up when Superman needed him. And I thought he provided much needed sort of comic relief in a sort of stereotypical role. He kind of took on, an R2D2, if we're going with a Star Wars comparison. He was a companion and he was always around, but he was incredibly powerful. Like I said, he helps Superman on multiple occasions. He's actually used as a plot device within the film. And I guess we didn't say it, but spoilers, we're going to be talking about everything with Superman. So if you haven't seen it yet, or you don't care to hear our opinions, then hold off and come back as soon as you see the movie. But yeah, I mean, he actually he gets stolen and he becomes an actual, integral part of the plot. And he's not just, a total side character. He also fights along Superman, and we find out who his real owner is, which is Supergirl.
Yes.
So, which was interesting. Number 2 on the good, I like this. I don't know if you will like this, but I actually appreciated Superman losing. The movie actually kicks off with him losing his first battle, which is interesting, I guess. But I thought, that's one of the things that usually drives complaints about the character of Superman, is that he's sort of, unbeatable in combat. And often when you watch it, it feels inevitable that he's going to win. And obviously winning can be described in many different ways, right? People don't always have to die or anything to win or lose. But I thought it humanized the character a little bit, and I sort of enjoyed it, because even though we see him get punched around a lot in Man of Steel, and it's not like, he wins every battle every time he's ever fought, there was this overall sense that Superman, while the most powerful metahuman, is not invincible. And I thought that helped a little bit with his character, and at least him going forward, because he feels a little bit more vulnerable than other versions of Superman. And number 1, my favorite thing about Superman 2025 is the world building. I really appreciate that they essentially drop you into a comic book ready universe. Like, I think everybody's describing this movie as comic booky. And what they mean by that is there's pocket dimensions and black holes and clones and kaiju and metahumans, and it all already exists. You go back to Nolan's depiction of Batman in the Dark Knight trilogy, and it's grounded in this sort of reality of like, what if a superhero were to come about in everyday life, or even the beginning of the MCU, where yes, they have Thor and some magical capabilities, but really Iron Man grounds the MCU in this sense that, right, it's taking place in 2007 in our world. And as they expand out, they get to add more and more of these comic booky elements. Not Superman. It's dropping us right into a fictional city. Obviously, there's fictional countries. It's still our world. It's Earth, but not really. And it's this comic book place. And it gives me so much excitement for the future of where they're going to go with the DCU.
Okay. The point is, you're wrong. None of those things are good. But so what's the bad? Get to the bad part. That's what I care about.
Okay. So I have a few. One of them is actually a specific scene in the movie, and that's the Lois and Clark interview. Clark insists being interviewed as Superman by Lois, and I felt that the pacing of this scene was off, both in the larger movie, because honestly, the pace of this film just flies. So this is like, it's sort of a breather, but it feels a little bit out of place. And also because I felt like the interview sucked. She just kept asking similar questions, of which Superman just kept replying with the same answer. People were gonna die. Yeah. And I'm like, I don't know. It just didn't really like do anything for me, that interview scene. And I know it's the crux of the interview scene is actually not the content of the interview. It's that at the end of it, they're frustrated in their relationship. And Lois makes a comment about like, I knew this wasn't going to work, but she's not referring to the interview. She's referring to her and Clark. It adds a level of tension to their relationship, which I can appreciate, but it just felt like it went on too long. It didn't match the pace of the rest of the film. It was one of the only times where I kind of felt myself sort of like, I don't know, looking at my hands or, letting your eyes wander, because I was like, I'm over it. I would say another thing that really stood out to me that I wasn't necessarily a fan of was James Gunn does a couple homages to
His
some
own
other
work.
films. Yeah, even his own work. There's a scene where Mr. Terrific basically puts a force field around Lois and then proceeds to use his, technology balls to fight everybody, which in my opinion is just a straight up callback to Guardians of the Galaxy 2 when when they have that whistle arrow or whatever his
Yeah.
that comes off his head
Yeah.
and it just goes through the ship. He literally plays music exactly the same. I mean, other than there being multiple balls versus one thing, I mean, it plays exactly the same to me. I don't find that I love a good homage, but I don't find that refreshing that you're referencing your own movie in an homage. And then also, I don't think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 is old enough to warrant that. And the same goes for at the very end of the film as Lex Luthor is giving a monologue. They have Crypto come in and slam him, which is very reminiscent of Hulk doing that to Loki in Thor or in Avenger. If you go online and you read comments, people actually say like, "Oh, Lex Luthor got
Yeah.
Loki'd."
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's so obvious in its reference, but again, it feels, I mean, a little bit too fresh to me. And also, I don't know if I appreciate a cross sort of Marvel, direct Marvel, because I think Guardians are, fringe. They're more fringe Marvel historically. That doesn't bother me, but you're gonna throw in, you're gonna make us think of the Avengers during Superman. I don't know if that's a good call. That's what I thought of
Okay. What else you got? You got one more.
for the bad, but not the ugly, right?
Yeah. You got one more bad, and then you got three ugly. So you need to step it up, son.
I think one more thing that kind of bothered me a little bit, some of the humor. It's a little undercutting at times. I don't want to get into any specific jokes. I enjoyed the humor. I like the lightheartedness. I mean, it's a staple of the Marvel MCU to have humor throughout. And then obviously, if you go back through James Gunn's filmography, it's a staple of his movies as well. So a little bit of humor is welcome, but I don't know if I want I heard some people describing it a little bit as maybe like a parody, where it's kind of making fun of certain elements of the genre. And that's not necessarily my favorite.
Okay. Okay.
So those are the bad. I don't know if you want to jump in with yours before we get to the ugly, but
Just go real quick. Mine's going to be a much quicker than yours.
okay. So for me, some of the things that were ugly, as much as I love the world building within the context of setting the stage for the future DCU, I didn't feel like Metropolis was like a real place. The same way that like if you watch Spider-Man 2, like New York, he like goes to a play, he calls from a payphone, he goes to class,
Yeah.
right? And so the ugly then I would describe as I don't think we really got it, barely any Clark Kent.
Valid point.
It's almost all Superman, which is fair. That's a choice. But to that end, then it feels like everything's all the world that we see is seen through the lens of the superhero and not from like a street level. The closest we get is maybe the Daily Planet, but it just never feels like Superman, like Clark Kent goes and gets a coffee or it just never feels to me like a real place yet. And they're going to need to do some more work to really give this, because it just felt like a generic city. So when I say world building as my number one thing that was good, I mean, I love the stage they set for the future DCU, but Metropolis itself and the lack of Clark Kent kind of bothered me. Number two on the ugly, I was not a fan of Lex Luthor's plan.
Yeah, as far as his dumb ideas that they put in movies, it's probably one of the dumbest.
It just strikes me as like doing a lot of roundabout things to just get here when you could just get here. Like Superman's not hard to find. Lex Luthor like sets up this whole thing where he's like, basically, I'm going to cut a deal with this foreign country so that Superman will show up so that I can destroy him, which I'm like, you don't need to do that. All you got to do is create a villain and he'll show up, but whatever, with the intention of him getting half the land. Now, granted, again, his plan was devised so that Superman would show up. But he has a pocket dimension. He has all, like, what does he even want land for? I don't even know.
No, despite the fact that he has Elon level money, he clearly wanted that kingship that he was promised.
I just don't get it all.
Yeah, it didn't. It was dumb.
it's a lot of roundabout. Like if you start to plot it, you're like, ooh. Not to say that things like that can't work. You know, a perfect example is in Return of the Jedi, like when they're going to try to break Han Solo out of Jabba's palace, and they're like, oh, okay, send in Princess Leia and she'll get captured. R2 and 3PO are gifts, and then Luke gets captured, and Lando's a plant. Also, that when we get on this barge, we can take it over. You're like, that seems like a real roundabout way to just could have just stormed it, whatever. But it was awesome. And this still works in that sense that I don't think it necessarily holds the movie back, but it just frustrated me because it doesn't seem all that logical. And it seems, I know he's got a big brain and maybe he was just overthinking it, but
yeah, I didn't like it either.
Okay. So my final ugly thing, I don't know if you're going to agree with me on this, but it is actually the fan reaction.
Ooh, interesting point.
Probably
Force Awaken.
Yeah, I'll explain it in a sec. But basically, my number one ugly thing associated with this movie is the fan reaction, and to that I mean there's absolute glazing going on. I mean, people are like, "This is the best comic book movie ever made," and I'm like, "Whoa, hold your horses!" I mean, it was a lot of fun. I think it's a great reset for DC and the DCU. I think James Gunn did a lot of things. I know we had 3 good and 6 bad. Sorry for the sorry for Christian went good to bad and the ugly. So we went a little negative with that, but I think he did some really good things. But the fan reaction to this is on a level that reminds me a little bit of The Force Awakens with Star Wars. I think people want to like it so much that they're willing to overlook any negatives and just prop it up as the ultimate sort of superhero movie. And I just don't think it's there. And especially when you compare it to other superhero movies, even modern ones. But you have Superman itself, Batman 89, The Dark Knight, you have Days of Future Past, you have Spider-Man 2, you have even the Into the Spider-Verse movies. You have Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles 1, which is amazing. And Superman's not better than that. And I haven't even started naming MCU films. You're going to go Iron Man, Avengers, Thor Ragnarok, Infinity Wars, Winter Soldier, whatever like, you're telling me this is the best comic book movie ever made and it's flawless. I mean, people are giving this a 10 out of 10. That's nuts to me. And
yeah,
like I said, CP, it just reminds me of The Force Awakens. That's the same reaction. I want you to verify this for all of our listeners on air. I remember calling you the day after I went to the midnight show of Force Awakens, and you were like, what did you think? And I described it as slightly derivative, and that was being fair, of A New Hope, both in visual style and actual moments. It was a cameo-driven movie where, like, literally it's just reveal after reveal after reveal. And I remember describing it as, I stayed up after I got home from the midnight show, and everybody online was like, my new favorite Star Wars movie. This is amazing. Disney has killed it. And I was like, clarify this for everybody. I told you, I was like, in 10 years, there is no way people feel the same way about this movie. There's just no way. It's not that good. They have rose-tinted glasses on. They're seeing what they want to see, which is everybody's excited for Star Wars. And I get it. You're excited for Superman. Everybody wants to love it. And that's fine. It can always be your personal favorite, Force Awakens or Superman. But if you're just being objective, I mean, it's just not the best comic book movie ever made.
Well, that sounds like a perfect time for me to jump in. All right. So, believe it or not, guys, I actually found 3 good things in this movie that I liked.
Let's hear it.
Number 3, Christopher Reeve's son actually makes a cameo as the newscaster in the movie, and I thought that was an awesome tribute to who many people consider the greatest Superman of all time.
Nice.
Very cool putting him in the movie. I mean, he's an actual working newscaster for ABC anyway, so I just thought that was a cool little nugget for the hardcore fans.
Incredible.
2, one of the major failures I remember from the Zack Snyder Superman films is the absence of the John Williams theme. So it was great to get the iconic Superman music back.
I loved it too.
Feels right. When Superman flies and you hear that song, it's like, boom, yes, this is movie gold. Number 1, and I actually think this was a massive failure for most of the live action Superman movies up to this point, I actually really liked the portrayal of Lois Lane. She didn't suck. She took initiative on her own right. She saw her work as a journalist a little bit. We saw her attempt to help out Superman. And I thought that that was a very good portrayal. Now, in the comic book, especially in the animated stuff, Lois Lane is much more kind of ambitious and intentional and doesn't take such a backseat to Superman in the story. So I thought it was great to finally see that cinematically. And I really like that.
Yeah, she actually saved Superman at one point.
Yep. And that's about it for things that I really liked. So the bad. Oh boy. So number 3, this is just me being nitpicky. The Guy Gardner bowl cut.
I loved it.
Why? I don't get it. I think it made Nathan Fillion look like a goober more than anything else.
I think he came across that way in general. Like, I think it actually fit his character. There was a good joke in there by Lois. And in general, it's memorable.
But the problem is Guy Gardner is actually a very complex character, and he's a very interesting Green Lantern. And he is literally fits into the stereotype definition of who Guy Gardner is in this movie as just being a meathead. And I did not like that because there's a lot more there that should have been explained.
I'm just saying, given that that was the context for his character in this film, I kind of liked it.
Number 2. Lex Luthor. Now, Nicholas was not terrible, but there are 2 or 3 fundamental flaws I think coming into this movie that James Gunn used. And one of which is Lex Luthor cries at the end, and I just do not see Lex Luthor in any situation as someone who cries. He's going to get even, he's going to get revenge, but he doesn't cry. That's not a Lex Luthor.
That's fair.
Character trait.
Okay.
So much to the point that he even acknowledges that he's jealous. And I'm like, as the narcissistic megalomaniac who Lex Luthor is, I don't think he would ever acknowledge jealousy because that's kind of like acknowledging his own flaws. And I don't believe that Lex Luthor thinks he has any flaws.
Okay.
So that would be 2. And then number 1, oh boy, Crypto. I was not a fan of Crypto the Superdog. Now, I love Crypto the Superdog. I did not like him in this movie, how he kind of every time sort of came in these Deus Ex Machina type moments where he like just saves Superman.
Yeah, he can come in out of nowhere.
Times in the movie, it's like Crypto shows up and saves Superman. And I'm like, that's kind of a failure. So let's get into the ugly. So the first point of the ugly is the suit.
Oh, you're going there.
I don't have a problem with the red underwear. That was not my issue. But when we compare the Henry Cavill suit in Man of Steel to David's suit in Superman, there's like 2 or 3 major flaws. The Henry Cavill suit has a very robust cape that looks like it has weight to it. Mm-hmm. And this one looks like a flimsy cape that you'd get at like the
Spirit Halloween.
And the whole costume looks more like a cosplay suit than a superhero suit. One of it being, again, when you look at the Cavill suit from Superman, and I'll use my 8 again, there's like a lot of definition. It's very sleek, and it looks like a heroic suit. Whereas David's suit kind of like bunches at elements. There's like, you see like wrinkles in it, like around his crotch and his legs, like it's really baggy. Just doesn't look like a true superhero suit. It looks like something that we're going to see at Comic-Con. And I thought that was a failure. So that was 3. 2, this goes back to the Crypto thing. It's the fact that Superman is not really, I don't think it's a good understanding of who Superman is. For one, he's constantly having to get saved by everyone else. And I know James Gunn was coming at it saying, I wanted to make a Superman who wasn't as strong, but it's almost to the point I'm like, you almost nerfed him too much, where in every situation in the movie where Superman saves the day, it's because someone else, whether it's the Justice Gang, Lois Lane, or Crypto, comes to save Superman. It's a failure.
Okay.
And my number one ugly thing is just James frickin' Gunn.
You would describe this as a James Gunn movie.
100%. In fact, my problem with it is James Gunn is more concerned with making a James Gunn movie than telling a good Superman story. Case in point, he constantly breaks pacing in the film for those James Gunn moments, which are the kind of comedic moments where he looks at the audience and he's like, isn't this so funny? Like, look how hilarious this is. And I think that destroys the flow of the story to some extent.
Okay. Now, I got to throw something out there at you because this is your number 1. Do you think in this story, James Gunn is Superman. And hear me out, because the plot of the movie is that Lex Luthor is going to turn public opinion against Superman by using something from Superman's past against him. And in this case, Superman goes to the Fortress of Solitude, where he views a broken message from his parents from Krypton. In Superman's perspective, that message is incredibly positive and has inspired him to be part of the person that he is today. Lex Luthor breaks in there and is looking for dirt, and he finds it by having his engineer restore the missing parts from the broken message, which end up being Superman's parents telling Superman that he should enslave Earth, create a harem, basically, take over. The idea being then that he releases this to the public, smears Superman with a message from his past, and he is now an outcast. Now, if we parallel that to James Gunn's own career, he was working at Marvel. He was heavily involved in the overall MCU production, but Guardians of the Galaxy specifically. And some old tweets surfaced that were, apparently too graphic for modern Twitter, which is wild. And he ended up getting outcast. He got fired from Marvel, and essentially at one point didn't even know if he would be able to work again, because he didn't know if he was literally like blacklisted from Hollywood. So that ended up not being the case, and he has risen again to now, the head of DC Studios, and he's writing and directing the Superman movie. He's back. I'm actually a good guy. So, do you see parallels? I mean, is he, excising his demons through Superman?
I definitely do. And I think, when I think back to film school, I remember one of our screenwriting professors, Berman, made a comment about how when you're writing a story, 50% of it is what you know. Thinking about it that way, yes, he whether it's conscious or subconscious, like that's an element that he can relate to. So that's why he took the character there, I think.
Yeah, me too. I actually agree with you. I once that section of the film happened, I was like, oh my God, here's this person who sort of, wants everybody to like him, doesn't finally sort of realizing his own humanity by the end. And I'm like, I've seen interviews with James Gunn where he's like, man, I was just craving adoration and, trying to win the respect of my peers. And then when that all disappeared and everybody basically was like, I can't talk to you, you're a hot potato. Like, he was like, oh, you know what? I realized I have all the stuff I need. I don't need all that. I was like, damn, if that doesn't show through in this movie. And I don't know, I thought that was interesting because on one level, I can really appreciate that. I actually like that he did that. It's interesting to me. And it makes the film feel much more personal to him. And when he's out there promoting it and I'm seeing him doing these interviews and, he's very protective of the movie that he made, I'm like, I can kind of see why. It was pretty cool. And I thought it worked well as a plot device. But we're going to get into this now, CP. Right. I got to throw this out there. So there's two elements to what we're going to talk about right here. And the first, Lex Luthor releases this message from his parents. We really don't know within the context of the film, although it's said multiple times that it's been verified to be true and accurate. I mean, it is a message coming from Krypton. So what do these people even know anyway? It's verified within the film that negative aspect of the message from his parents is indeed true. But there's doubt left within the film that Luthor just doctored the footage, put it out there to smear Superman, and that it was, a smear campaign. So that's the first half, and I want to get your opinion on that. And the second half is, how do you feel about James Gunn messing with some of the sort of standard comic book origin stuff that we're used to for the Superman character?
So first question first. I think my biggest issue is it's not totally clear to the audience. Is this doctored by Luthor or not? Superman says it isn't. Other folks say, or Superman says that it is. Other folks say that it isn't. The major issue is Lex Luthor is an unreliable character and he's a liar, and everything he says we can't take at face value. So why would we trust him outright? And I think a failure is the writing part is James Gunn. If as an audience we're walking out debating this, you didn't make the point clear.
I think it's clear. I was unsure when I left the movie whether that indeed was what his parents said or if Luthor doctored it. Now, I don't know if I'm opposed to the ambiguity, especially if it gets resolved at a later date. It is interesting because Superman believes it, right? So by the time he gets to Kansas and he's at Mom, Pa, Kent's house, he believes it to be true and he has a crisis of identity. So I think as a plot device, it works because Superman does have to sort of question what his role in all this is and sort of does he have a destiny or does he get to choose, right? And Pa Kent tells him, you're defined by your choices, not, what you were sent here to do. And if you choose to do good, then you're a good person, right?
And so it's actually ironic, and I'm really glad that that Kansas scene is put in it because I actually think it redeems the character of Jonathan Kent in the movie significantly because up until that point, he is literally portrayed as just a dumb hick.
Yeah, kind of a
Like
bumbling,
almost comedic level.
yeah,
And
like
I
a
thought that
bumbling
was,
like Dust Bowl guy or something.
yeah, and I thought that was a gross, like, insult to the character of who Jonathan Kent is and Martha Kent because they're so cartoonish in their portrayal.
Yeah, they have heavy accents. I mean, in some way, I kind of like it's a slightly different take on them, which is refreshing. So I don't mind that. It's just like you said, you don't want it to devolve into like cartoonish. And yeah, I thought that helped a lot.
As far as the portrayal of Jor-El and Lara, I'm a little conflicted. I don't think, I guess my issue is I don't know that that's true to the spirit of who they are. And now I know that in versions of kind of Krypton lore, Krypton as a society is a much more kind of imperialistic and it's a class society with tiers and lots of really messed up social structures. So
Sure.
that alone is kind of in true is sort of in many ways true to the spirit of what we the Krypton that we knew. But the thing is, Jor-El is a fundamental outsider of Krypton.
Right.
Part of the reason why he saves why he saves Kal-El is nobody else believes Jor-El because he's a wacko. He doesn't play by the rules. And so when you portray Jor-El in a much more Zodist fashion, then apparently how can he be at odds with the Council of Krypton, with the scientists, with Zod himself? And so I just think that's really weird because naturally at some point they're bringing Zod in. So how do we create a Zod character who is not like this portrayal of Jor-El? I mean, that means we need to make a sympathetic good guy Zod. Like that just, it blows my mind. And I think that that was a weird choice.
Well, and then the other thing too is like historically, Superman, the reason for him having been sent to Earth was obviously to keep the lineage alive, but to spare, to give hope to the world, right? From Krypton, and because the planet was going to be destroyed. If he was just simply sent there
As like a Saiyan conqueror.
yeah, kind of like Goku, he was sent by the Saiyans to go, use the power of the full moon to transform into an ape and take over this planet as they were conquerors. It's kind of like, why did Krypton blow up? I don't know.
Yeah, no, for sure, dude.
You look at DBZ as sort of a little bit of a comparison, but they do a great job of just sort of being like it did, right? I think initially they sort of say it was because the planet's core was unstable or something, but if you watch DBZ through the Frieza saga, then you know that it was destroyed intentionally by Frieza to end the Saiyan race out of his own fear for the arrival of a Super Saiyan, which is incredible. I mean, incredible writing. So I am curious if James Gunn has a little bit more in store for us that we'll find out in Supergirl and future Superman installments about what actually happened on Krypton and if it follows the sort of traditional comic book lore or just like he does, yeah, with his parents, if there's going to be more to this story, what happened here.
Yeah.
It might be a little bit more wild than we think. So I don't know. DBZ does it well, though.
I think it's really interesting. I mean, again, there's a fundamental problem with all the Superman movies, and it's the idea that Superman is too physically strong.
How do you test this guy from a story perspective?
They keep bringing in these bigger, badder, stronger villains, or they do what James Gunn did and you kind of nerf Superman down. And I think, again, we've watched like in all the Superman movies, there's like, I don't know, in all 8 of them, there's like 3 Superman movies where Superman almost, or 4 where like Superman almost dies or we think he's going to die. And I think that that's a failure because I think as an audience, that's not what we're there for. I
Right.
think the problem is, and I think the reason why the Richard Donner movies are so highly regarded is he understands that the way you test Superman is not a physical test, it's a moral test. You
Yeah.
test him as a character to uphold his principles and stand by them no matter what. And that sequence where he makes Superman choose between millions of people or Lois Lane, I think is a great illustration of how to truly challenge Superman in a meaningful way. You give him an impossible test, kind of like the Joker in the Dark Knight, right? I'm going to
Yeah.
make you break your one rule. And I think that in good Superman storytelling, Superman's basic principle rules that he operates off of need to be challenged. And my problem is in this movie, I don't think James Gunn is testing him at a character level, at a principle level. He's testing him on all the
Only with
physical.
identity. Only
Yeah.
with identity, but not his principles.
Yeah.
Which is it's still a good crisis. I like a good identity crisis. There's nothing wrong with that. I mean, look at Spider-Man 2. That happens and it
Yeah.
can work out fantastic. So I don't think there's inherently anything wrong with an identity crisis. But if we're asking ourselves, right, is this the greatest comic book movie of all time? Or did we get, what the Dark Knight is to Batman for Superman? Not yet.
Nope. No,
Not
not even
yet.
close. Not even
Yeah.
close.
But I am hopeful if they're able to understand this and realize, right, it's not going to be a fist fight in the sky that's going to enthrall audiences to absolutely adore this character. It's going to be testing his ultimate might and right his moral compass, his ethics. Then I think we can get there.
Yeah, okay. I mean, if they get it, we'll see what James Gunn does going forward. I mean, speaking of that, what are your thoughts on moving forward with James Gunn heading up the DCU? We got a lot in this movie.
I love it. And I know you hate to hear that. So far, so good. So I think this was a great kickoff overall to the new DCU. Like I said, they set an incredible tone, both with a visual style. It's very colorful. It's unlike the Snyderverse. They've definitely separated themselves and they drop us right into the action of a world that already has heroes and villains. It kind of reminds me a little bit of The Incredibles, how you pick up in that movie where the city they're in is just superheroes exist, villains exist. Even, the kaiju are out there, these big monsters. There's literally a scene where Superman is talking to Lois Lane and the Justice Gang is fighting a
Yeah, that's
kaiju
so
outside.
Superman though. He would
No,
be
I
out
know.
there saving innocent people,
But I
not
love the
letting
idea that there's just
disaster
things
happen.
going on everywhere. Like, I like that. That's fun. I'm really excited. So obviously Superman has quite a few villains to draw from. He's been he's been around for what, almost 80 years or something. I don't know. The villain that I'm most looking forward to, and hopefully they'll either do this in a Superman sequel or maybe even as a big bad, we have not seen him in a live action adaptation, is Brainiac. I think that would be an incredible villain to introduce. And I think there is a lot of room to experiment with how you want to do that villain. I've even heard interviews with David Cornsweet. They are going to be allowed to play with both genres and rating. So there is potential that while this movie was incredibly kid friendly, they could end up making a rated R Superman within this same shared universe. Could get interesting. And then I'm really pumped. I think you're asking me, the DCU and James Gunn and this whole universe we're in. I think it makes perfect sense now why Matt Reeves' Batman is not going to be a part of this universe.
That's a good point. Yeah, that does.
I think they did a great job with that movie. I love the Batman and I love the Penguin. I'm excited for the sequel. And I think they
no way matches with James.
Right. There's just no way. If you ever watched like the Justice League, cartoon, or even, going down a little bit more to cartoonish, like Super Friends and different things, you're like, there's a dynamic between Batman and Superman, and they're going to need to knock this out of the park. I want to see them with an excellent Batman casting. I think, what is it called? The Brave and the Bold. Mm-hmm. That's the future film. They're working on the script now. Yep. But if they can get Batman right, and who knows, we might have Robin, which I'm excited for that. Hopefully there's Robin.
Said no one ever.
I'm excited. I think, Robin within this context would be fantastic. And I'm just really pumped. I think they can do incredible things. They're working on the Wonder Woman script. and they have Supergirl coming out. We got the Brave and the Bold, and obviously this is all heading, I don't know what phase or whatever they're doing like Marvel does, but it's all building up towards a Justice League movie. And that dynamic between Superman and Batman is just so key. They got to knock this out of the park.
Okay.
But
kind of the opposite.
I'm excited. I'm really, really pumped. This is the most I've been pumped for DC since The Dark Knight, for sure.
See, I feel like my issue is James Gunn is interested in telling James Gunn's version of Superman. Like, yes, he brought in new characters, but they're all, the expanded greater DC that he brought into this movie. They're portrayed by his friend actors. I don't
even Bradley Cooper, Rocket Raccoon.
Right. And his brother plays Max Lord, and Nathan Fillion, his best friend, is Guy Gardner. And I feel like he's more concerned about making the Gunverse than giving us what I want to see, which is an honest cinematic portrayal of the DC superheroes universe. A lot of people talk about how, this is like feels like a cartoon. And to some extent it does, kind of what you're talking about with the story, how they don't feel the need to justify and explain practically why things are happening. They just do the comic Lex Luthor has this, or this is alien technology, right? Which, fine, I don't have an issue with that.
Why is there a pocket dimension? You're like, there just is. I don't know. They have the technology for it, And why is there a black hole in this pocket dimension? There just is. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. But tonally, the fact that James Gunn is more interested in telling a James Gunn style of story, that's what bothers me. I went out with a couple of comic book friends the day after I saw the movie, and their argument was, they're like, it's a great James Gunn movie. I don't know that it's a good Superman movie. And I agree with that sentiment totally. It is a great James Gunn movie. If you like James Gunn comedy, visual style, storytelling, you will love it. For me, as a Superman fan, I do not think it did the character justice. And I don't know that it set a tone for a Superman universe that I want to explore further.
And that's where we differ, because I actually think it did. I'm really excited. I can't wait for the sequel. I'm excited to see Supergirl. I'm excited to see who they cast as Batman and what this version of Batman will look like. I'm looking forward now, and I'm like very excited. So we differ on that. But before we move on, I want to ask you, I want to look backwards.
Okay.
Man of Steel and the Snyderverse. I mean, what are your thoughts here? I know you're a big Henry Cavill fan and you loved his portrayal of Superman. And I am curious, because I think the listeners are going to want to hear it from you directly. Do you like Man of Steel more, or do you like Superman 2025 more?
So here's the problem. And if you remember 10 years ago, we've had now 3 different Supermen in 20 years. We had Brandon Roth, we had Henry Cavill, and we had David Cornside. I was very critical of Man of Steel the first time I saw it, for the first 12 times I saw it. And I think my biggest complaint
so critical. You had to go back
and a misunderstanding of Superman, and the decision to kill Zod, I think, is counter to the character. Now, there's 2 things that I think the Snyderverse accomplishes very well in Man of Steel. The first thing is, I think we get the best depiction of a heroic Superman. The feats that he accomplishes in Man of Steel, stopping that oil derrick that's on fire, the things he does, I'm like, this is cool. This is what a real Superman would do. I mean, even to the fact that when Superman takes off, there's kind of that sonic boom behind him.
Yeah.
That I thought was really cool. And I'm like, yes, based on who this character is with full-on God mode powers, he should be portrayed in this way. And so I really like some of that stuff. At times, I think Snyder got a little artsy. He got a little into his own kind of Snyder lore that he was creating, which detracted. But fundamentally, I like the portrayal of Superman played by Henry Cavill. I think he was a better depiction of the character that we know. And so
I'm probably going to disagree here. I think I enjoyed the David Cornsweet version more.
You like Superman being a bitch?
I liked him saying, instead of shit, he said shoot and what the heck or what the hey.
Okay, that's fine.
I liked that he was saving squirrels and holding falling debris up so that a dog could not die. I don't know, there was something charming about that, and I thought his portrayal overall was pretty good. Like I said, we didn't get a lot of Clark Kent, So it's a little hard to say. And the same is true of Man of Steel. I mean, while we do see Clark Kent a couple times, I mean, it's really just his disguise as Superman versus like if you go back and watch like Superman with Christopher Reeve, like he literally is Clark Kent for a long time.
Well, we see a lot more of Superman growing up in Man of Steel as Clark Kent, but once he gets of age and he goes to the city, he's Superman.
Yeah, he's mostly Superman. And so even to the people that, he knows and loves who know his identity, right? He goes and sees Ma Kent. I mean, he's just himself, not portraying Clark Kent per se, a disguise. And I don't know. I like David Corn Sweat. I thought he did a good job. Did you hate it?
I didn't hate him. I just didn't like him.
I thought he did a good job. I liked it.
I mean, this is how I'll rank the Superman movie. If that's the real question that you're getting here, Superman 1, Superman 2, the Richard Donner cut, Superman 2, the regular cut, Man of Steel, and this is somewhere above the Superman Quest for Peace and Superman 3.
What about Superman Returns?
Probably above Superman Returns.
I mean,
probably on par with Batman Superman, to be honest.
Okay. If I was ranking them, I would probably still have Superman, Christopher Reeve, number 1. This would be number 2. Then I'd probably have Superman 2. Then I'd have Man of Steel. Actually, no, I take that back. I'd probably have Man of Steel at 3. I actually like Man of Steel. I rewatched it to get pumped up for this movie, which is ironic given that I think Zack Snyder and Henry Cavill are like enemies 1 and 2 of the internet. Well, actually, not right now because that couple got caught cheating at the Coldplay concert, so they're enemies 1 and 2. But they got bumped down to 3 and 4 now. But like, man, the internet really turned on Snyder and Henry Cavill after that. Like I said, I think unrightfully so. We've talked about this on the podcast before. I really do appreciate what Zack Snyder was trying to do. If you watch, especially like the Batman versus Superman, what is it, Dawn of Justice or whatever cut,
the ultimate cut.
Yeah, the ultimate cut,
more comprehensive story.
And then you watch the Zack Snyder Justice League. I mean, he is positioning these superheroes as gods, and there's a whole dynamic there that's unique. But I do appreciate what he was trying to do. I don't think it worked at all the times. Obviously, the tone was very dour, very dark.
Yeah, but dude, I mean, I just think about like the best moment in Black is that moment when Henry Cavill Superman descends to confront Black Adam post credits. I'm like, oh my, like the second Henry Cavill dons the cape, I'm like, you are Superman, dude. And I don't get that with David.
I do agree with you though. There's things that happen in Superman Returns and then Batman versus Superman where I'm like, what the hell? Like both of them trying to pretend they're going to kill Superman off. I mean, first of all, in Superman Returns, it's literally called Superman Returns. You're like, we all know he's not dead. And then we know that the Snyderverse is building to the Justice League. And then they're like, oh, Superman's dead. And I'm like, he's not dead. I mean, it's just not true. Yeah. And then by the end of the movie, they have like the dirt, start shaking on top of his grave. And I'm like, why even go through that then? Just have him like disappear somewhere and they don't know where he went. And then I don't know. It's like, why pretend that he died? That just frustrates me from a story standpoint.
I totally agree. So I want to ask you this real quick, and we're just going to rapid fire this. 3 things you're looking forward to moving that you'd like to see in the next Superman movie. You kind of already hit on it with your case in point on about Brainiac, but what else would you like to see?
I'd like to see more Clark Kent and more chemistry between Lois and Clark. Again, there's just this insane glazing going on in the internet where people are like, oh my God, the chemistry between Lois and Clark was off the charts. I did not get that at all. Well, I mean, it was not bad. It was fine. But I was like, did they make me believe in love again? What the fuck? No. I mean,
especially when you think about even something like the show Lois and Clark is based around their chemistry, which is significantly superior to the portrayal in this film. So I'm with you. We've seen better versions of it.
I'm not hating on it. I think it works for the film that we got. It's fine. I cannot stand people posting clips from within the theater of like Lois and Clark together in a scene. And they're like, oh my God, like I believe in love again. And I'm like, oh my God, you make me want to throw up. Like that's horrible. I don't know. I thought their chemistry was fine. But I mean, literally, at least a third of the movie, maybe even more, Lois is actually questioning whether she even wants to be in a relationship with him. He's sort of idealizing Lois at this point because he's probably never been in love. It's like your first girlfriend. And then at the end, she just is like, after he saves the world, she's like, oh, I love you too. And you're like, that doesn't feel earned, I guess. I know you care about Clark. I know you care about Superman, and I'm not questioning that. But like, earlier he said I love you and you were not confident enough to say it back, and even though you've gone on this journey together, all of a sudden you're like, fuck, screw all that.
Yeah.
So I'd like to see more Clark, and I'd like to see more of their relationship develop. And I think if you do it right with the right villain and you do a Dark Knight for Superman, not a carbon copy or anything, but just a powerful villain that challenges the character and he falls in love and all that, it would be epic. And I want it. If they get Superman right once, on because here's the thing, CP, answer me this, and we got to talk about this for a second. Is Nolan's Batman the definitive comic book version of Batman?
No.
I don't think so. I think Nolan made the version of Batman that Nolan wanted to make. And that's why I can respect James Gunn making the version of Superman that he wants to make, right? I'd say even you could make an argument that the Batman is closer to the comic book version of Batman than the Dark Knight is. But the Dark Knight works because, or Mask of the Phantasm, incredible. That's probably the most accurate. Which that actually breaks my heart every time. His relationship with what's her name?
I know. It's so good.
Oh, that actually like broke my heart. They didn't break my heart in this movie. Nolan makes his version of Batman, but it works so well because he's established the world we're in, and he creates a villain that challenges the character to the max, to the absolute zenith. Batman gets challenged. If we get that and a really good love story with Lois and Clark, I think Superman, the future is bright, dude. I'm excited. You can probably tell I'm excited.
Yeah, you're sort of pumped.
I heard there might be a Mr. Terrific show, and I think that's maybe a little premature.
I also heard there's a Jimmy Olsen show.
Yeah, I mean, they were standout characters. I actually loved both portrayals. I thought Mr. Terrific was a standout side character, from the Justice Gang. He got to shine here in this movie. And I thought Jimmy Olsen was actually pretty good as well. He did a fantastic job. He's a woman magnet and all this stuff. Do they need their own shows?
I don't know that they do. It feels like a stretch. However, I would have said and I did say
I was about to say the same thing.
The Penguin.
I was
like,
going to
say,
say,
how are you making a show about it? And it's incredible. So maybe I could very well be wrong on this issue.
I know. I was going to say the Penguin and Andor, both secondary characters where in the movies they were in, and they both got shows and both were amazing. So maybe I'm wrong. Maybe a Mr. Terrific show would be incredible. Exactly. So I don't know. I'm kind of here for it. I'm open to the idea. So when you're asking for the future, I'm like, yeah, maybe I'm wrong. I thought the same thing about Cassian Andor. He's a great character in Rogue One. And then they announce all the shows they're going to do. They're like Obi-Wan, Ahsoka, and Andor. And I remember being like, Andor? Like, of all the things you could do in Star Wars, you're going to pick this. And then that ended up being by far and away the best show. And then the Penguin, I was like, does this guy really need his own show for real? And then I watched the show and I was like, this is incredible. They increased the lore of Gotham. They did world building. He gets an entire backstory, which is incredible. There's actually death, which was great. I mean, obviously within the Matt Reeves Batman world, we get death, because it's not too comic booky. Yeah. But it was awesome. Yeah. So maybe a Mr. Terrific show or even a Jimmy Olsen show. And then I don't know. I'm curious, I guess, for the future to see what they're going to do with Lex Luthor. Is he sort of a one-off villain here? Because he always sort of, kind of maybe like the Penguin will in the Batman. He always sort of lingers. He's always around.
Yeah.
I don't know. He's just always around. He's in every, he's kind of that common denominator through a lot. I mean, even to the degree that they might have to go visit him in jail or I don't know.
Yeah.
I think in the comics too, at various points, I mean, he's even had to work with Superman, even if reluctantly, a little a la Professor X and Magneto, where sometimes they're on the same side and then bam, they are not.
There are times where Lex Luthor saved the world.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'd be interested to see what they want to do with that character because I don't think we've seen the last of him.
Fair enough.
How about you?
3 things I'm looking for. Again, I'd like to see some. I would be really interested to see, especially in this world they've established with clones and pocket universes. Maybe we finally get Bizarro in a Superman movie.
Ooh, that would be cool too.
I think that would be fun. I'm with you. I would love to see Brainiac. However, you were wrong. There was a television series on Sci-Fi called Krypton about the origins
Okay.
of Krypton, and we got
Never
live
saw it.
action Brainiac, and he was awesome. They did it
Okay.
totally right. If they ported that character into a Superman movie, it would be amazing.
Well, maybe they should, because I would love to see that. I mean,
Maybe.
what do you
I,
think? Okay, so I have two questions for you. One, what did you think of Ultraman in this movie?
well, just I will come back to that. So the last thing I'd like to see is let's see a Superman movie where we leave Earth. We're always
Oh,
on
okay.
Earth.
That's cool.
This is a
A
character who
little
can
Thor
travel
Ragnarok.
the solar
Yeah,
system. Send him to Warworld. Make him show down against Mongol. Like,
that
let's
would be cool.
let's go off Earth so we can raise the stakes by putting more powerful super beings around him. Ultraman, I did not like this interpretation. I think the Ultraman character is actually a very interesting one. He arises from the death of Superman and he shows up claiming to be the true Superman, only to learn, in fact, that he is this failed clone of Superman that Luthor created. And I think that story is much more intriguing than the version that we got in this movie. So I didn't really like it.
Well, they choreographed it almost too obviously. Like, he's sort of wearing the mask and everything and all that. But it's like, if you know the comics, you sort of already know. And
Yeah.
even if you don't know the comics, I think you can still guess
Yeah.
because they get into the Fortress of Solitude and you're kind of like, how?
Yeah. Yeah. That's like
Right.
a dead giveaway.
And then obviously, whenever you cover anybody's face, but I was going to say I was not a huge fan of the portrayal of Ultraman because he reminded me a lot of the Taskmaster.
Oh, and this
Uh,
character with no control over his own actions, just
yeah, and I didn't even like the idea of Lex sort of being in this like war room watching him fight and then like calling out his moves like he's hitting like, he's playing World of Warcraft hitting like
yes.
F5. Well, to me, there's a certain level of latency, which I know Luther's a genius and he could probably overcome that, but it's like I don't think Luther could react fast enough to
Yeah.
relay all that and make decisions. It just seemed a little off to me. Like, and then I'm not a huge fan of characters that don't have autonomy. And it just felt like Ultraman was basically just a mindless robot for Lex
Yep.
Luthor. And so to me, that doesn't do a lot to move the needle. So I wasn't a huge fan of that. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm with you.
What do you think they should do with Crypto in the future?
Not put him in the movies. I don't have a problem with Crypto, but oh my gosh, the whole time all he does is save Superman, save Superman, save Superman, and that just was a bit much for me. That was
All right. Well,
almost detracted. So,
if I mean, do you have any final thoughts?
I mean, I think everybody knows what I think. I'm gonna get a bunch of flack from our listeners, and that's fine, and I'll address it next week. I did want to do one last activity.
Okay.
All right, we're gonna try a new segment here. We're gonna call this
Okay.
For Those About to Die, and it's gonna be inspired by the Roman emperors. Okay.
Okay.
I need you to I'm going to give you a statement and I want you to give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down. That's it. You got to be decisive.
Okay.
Right?
Let's do it.
All right, let's do this. So, first one, David Cornswell is the best actor to don the Superman cape.
Thumbs down.
Thumbs down. Yeah. Okay, fair enough. Superman and Lois' chemistry was off the charts in this movie.
Thumbs down.
Nathan Fillion is the best live action Green Lantern.
Thumbs up.
I got to agree with that one. This is the best James Gunn movie yet.
Thumbs up.
Okay.
I liked it.
Mr. Terrific is in fact terrific.
Thumbs up.
Okay. We need the Jimmy Olsen series more than ever now.
I'm going to say thumbs down.
Okay. Nicholas Holt is a terrible Lex Luthor.
Thumbs down.
Krypton should have been put in the pound.
Thumbs down. I love Crypto.
Big Crypto fan. This is the most cartoonist comic book movie that we've seen today.
Running through them. What do we got? I'm like, I'm going to go thumbs up here. It's definitely, it's in the top. Okay. I can't, I'm going through, I'm trying to think, but I'll have to give a thumbs up.
So those are all statements I found from the internet. And this is what people said out there. So I just wanted to know, do you agree? Do you disagree? And now we know.
I think David Cornsweet killed it. Well done. I'm not quite ready to put him over Christopher Reeve, though. Just my 2 cents. But if he continues to knock it out of the park and we actually do get that epic Superman movie, I'd be prepared to put him in number 1 for sure.
Wow, that's a very bold statement.
So CP, before we end the episode, I want to throw it over to you. Rate Superman 2025 out of 10, and you can't pick 7.
It's a 6.5 then.
If I was rating out of 10 Superman 2025 and I can't pick 7, I'm going to go 8. I actually enjoyed it. But my honest opinion is it's about a 7. Yeah, it's about a 7.
Movies are about a 7.
I know. No, I didn't think it was a total masterpiece. I think the movie, the effects, there's some issues overall. I think there's some pacing stuff. They're dropping us into a world where some of this stuff doesn't make any sense, which is okay. That's fun, but I mean, it's a little bit to wrap your head around. Like I said, I didn't think certain chemistry was off the charts, but wow, did I have fun. And I really enjoyed the movie, and it made me happy for what's to come. So
fair enough. We'll see. I'm always happy to see Superman movies. I feel like I'm perpetually disappointed, and I would like this so much better if James Gunn was not helming it. I just despise the man.
They should go get Zack Snyder.
I mean, we saw that, and at first I despised it until I saw all his millions of director's cuts, and then I was like, okay, there's more here than I thought. But yeah. I don't know. Maybe we just need to find someone who actually gets Superman. Maybe
keep it up, James Gunn. You're doing good work. All right. Well, CP, that does it for our episode this week. Just wanted to go ahead and thank everybody for tuning back in. We appreciate you guys listening. Hope you enjoyed the conversation. Hope you've seen Superman by now at this point in the episode. And if you haven't, you probably feel like you did. Yeah, thank you all for tuning in. Be sure to follow the show at filmmakerscompass.com, where we have a list of all of our socials and a feed of past episodes. Look forward to future episodes coming weekly. I'm very excited about that. And just to be talking movies again with you, CP. Because here's the thing. In the 6 months when we were off the air, I still call you just to talk movies. Oh, yeah. How many times did we hang, like, we're going to end a call, and I'm like, we should have just recorded.
Yeah, probably like 30. We'd have like 30 more episodes.
Yeah, I'm like, oh, I just watched this. Oh, this, I'll call you. I'm like, hey, did you see this trailer? Guys, we have these conversations anyway. And it's a lot of fun to have them on air and share them with you. So I'm glad to be back. And on that note, you can follow me at Big Kid D-Man. You can follow CP
at NDCal5. D-Man, thank you for forcing me to do this. I'm glad we are back here, back with all you awesome listeners. Thank you for tuning in for this episode. You can catch us back here next week. And until then, keep watching movies.